Man, what's going on, everybody? Welcome to the Hive Mind, podcast, Hive Mind with Jalen Harrell, whatever you want to call it, man. I'm super excited to start this new journey, man. I had to come in and represent, you know, Big Prez and former First Lady Michelle because our president wanted to play with our president's head top, and we ain't going for that. We ain't going for that over here. We don't like none of that. We don't support none of that. So I had to start off the series and the first episode of Hive Mind correctly, man. But look, we're going to get straight into it. I'm super excited to be starting this, y'all. Glad to have y'all here with me. Glad to have y'all tapping in with me, man. This is going to be your number one source for all. Starting off Hornets coverage, we want to get into Carolina coverage. You know what I'm saying? We want to hit Carolina basketball, Carolina football, the Charlotte Hornets. We're gonna mix it around. We're gonna find our footing. We're gonna figure out what works for us. But I am super excited to be starting this journey. I want to start off posting weekly if possible. We got the Bricks podcast going on as well, so please tap into that. But as I find my footing, y'all continue to work with me, and man, I'm looking forward to it. Obviously, I would be remiss to not start off the correct way and acknowledge that the GOAT, J. Cole, Jermaine Cole, finally dropped the fall off. I know all my North Carolina listeners are out there tapping in, listening to J. Cole. Y'all let me know what y'all favorite song was, man. Legacy, he cooked with that one. I'm rocking with Legacy. But man, I mean, it's J. Cole, bro. There's not too much to say. But we are going to get right into it today, man. Welcome to Hive Mind, man. What a time. What a time to be a Hornets fan. 8 straight, baby. I remember a few years ago when we were losing games and people wanted to count us out and people were talking about we're the worst team in the league and then the NBA doesn't want to give us the right draft compensation that we deserve. But look at us now. Look at the bandwagons. Look at the people coming on social media posting about the Hornets. Where was y'all at? Where was y'all at, man? But no, we are on to an 8-game win streak. This is the first time since 1998, y'all. 26, 27 years in the making. We just now are winning 8 straight. And a lot of people are going to look at that as a statistic to laugh at and point at. But the way that this franchise has been moving, going from previous ownership with Michael Jordan, who we've seen has not been able to run a team in the way he was able to run his own career. But with a new regime that has come in recently, the pieces are starting to get in place to get this thing moving and to get this thing rolling for the Hornets to take off. I mean, with the way that this team is playing right now, the possibilities are absolutely endless. I mean, the wins have been awesome. The wins have been amazing. We just played the Rockets, and I'm gonna be real. I was thinking like that Rockets game, it might be a little tough. Like, we already won 7 straight. Another game in Houston might be, man, stop. Ain't no problem. Con Kneppel, 24 on his head. You know what? Before I get too deep into the weeds with this 8-game win streak that we deserve, it would be remiss of me to not come on here and start my first episode of Hive Mind and not apologize to our pick this year, Con Kneppel. If y'all been following me and remember, after the draft, I made a rage post raging about how Con Kneppel was just the worst pick for the Hornets. The absolute worst pick for the Hornets. And I'm not going to say it was the worst. That's a stretch. I wanted Ace Bailey. Coming into the draft, I was like, look, I want Ace Bailey. I want to get Ace Bailey here. I felt like he would be a good pairing next to Brandon Miller. I think LaMelo, with him being a lob threat, I just thought it would have worked. And for where our seating was in the draft, I felt like going for Con Kneppel at the time was a reach. But boy, oh boy, was I wrong. I mean, wow. Even with, you know what I'm saying, good performances from Cooper Flag when I'm going back to the Duke days when they were in Duke. I'm like, I mean, not good performances from Cooper Flag, excuse me. Even with good performances from Con Kneppel when he was at Duke, when Cooper Flag went down, I didn't see a top 5 pick caliber player. I didn't see that at all. But man, boy, was I wrong. What he is doing as a rookie on this team has been it's uncomparable. You can't compare it to the instant impact that a rookie is came on the team and immediately had. It's not comparable. He's had the most impact for a rookie that I've seen on the team in a while. And I really see him going on a Klay Thompson trajectory right now. And honestly, y'all gonna get on me for this, but I think he could even I don't want to hear. He could have a career similar to Klay Thompson. I mean, the defense is there, the scoring efficiency is there, the height, the size, the strength is there. I mean, everything that you want out of a rookie guard coming into the league, going to a team that he especially the team needs him. The team needs him more than he needs them. His impact has been absolutely amazing. And another thing that he has brought that has helped contribute to our win streak is a winning mindset. I mean, we all know that Duke team with Cooper Flag and them boys were good enough to compete for a championship. And like I just mentioned earlier, when Cooper Flag went down, Con Kneppel was the guy to come in and really take over a lot of those games for Duke. That's when we saw his stock begin to rise. Now, at the time, I still thought that it was a bit of a reach for us because I was like, this guy only has a few games without Cooper Flag here where he's had some 20-point games, but in terms of a top 5 pick, I just thought they were better prospects with better ceilings that we could have attacked. But, I mean, we addressed the need right on. I think the biggest thing that we needed was shooting to add on to what LaMelo can already bring us and Brandon Miller when he's healthy. And he did exactly that. I mean, just a winning mindset guy and a guy who's able to let other people expand their game. We see somebody like a Miles Bridges benefit from a Con Kneppel a lot. We know that Miles Bridges can shoot the ball pretty well. He's been one of the other primary shooters outside of LaMelo Ball. He's also one of our franchise leading scorers in the top, I believe, 8 or 9, maybe 5 range. We don't have that many guys that has came in and had the Kemba Walker impact. But somebody like a LaMelo Ball and a Miles Bridges benefit so much from the presence of a Con Kneppel because he's going to expand their game. You know, you're looking for Con to be the shooter. He's the guy that you're going to get up and guard close. We know that Miles Bridges can shoot. We know that he's also very explosive. So now that you add a guy like Con Kneppel in there, you're going to space the floor out a little bit. You can't always be guarding up on Miles as much as you would. You can't always be guarding up on Brandon Miller as much as you would because one of those 4 guys are going to shoot the rock. So I think Miles now has a really good veteran role in this offense where he can really expand his game and play in a way in which he's not having to force shots up or be another primary scorer second hand to LaMelo or Brandon Miller. But I just love what Con has been doing for us, man. And the other 2 people, of course, I kind of hit on it a little bit who are benefiting is Brandon Miller and LaMelo Ball. I mean, a lot of people right now will say that LaMelo Ball needs to be the best player on the floor. He needs to be the best player on the team. And I think in order for us to continue winning in the way that we have been so far and being able to close out close games, which has been a struggle for us recently, being able to continue to shoot at a high level but not force shots, Brandon Miller has to be the best player on the court at all times. And what I mean, and let me rephrase that. I'm not going to say he has to be the absolute best player. He has to be the primary scorer. And what I mean by this is Miller's stats right now is 24-3. When we drafted Brandon Miller, we needed his size and we needed a forward who could score. But we also drafted Miller on the basis of his comparisons, one of which Jason Tatum. And I'm not saying that Brandon Miller is at a Jason Tatum level quite yet, but let's turn back the clock real quick. When we were in this draft, this was Victor Wembanyama's draft class. Of course, the league was not going to grant us Victor. I mean, we already know the draft is rigged. We saw what happened with Cooper Flag going to Dallas. They were not going to reward us with Victor Wembanyama. I just took it on the chin. But before we got the emergence of Victor in the year that he went crazy, Brandon Miller and Scoot Henderson were the two front runners to be the number one pick. So in a way, despite what we all knew was going to happen with Wemby, we still kind of got a number one pick in a sense in that draft because Brandon Miller was projected to go number one once Wemby came out and really became Wemby to the caliber that we're seeing now. It was just curtains. So we knew we weren't getting Wemby. But I do think that Brandon Miller can have a Jason Tatum level trajectory, and I need LaMelo Ball to be the guard to the Jason Tatum. I'm not going to say the Jaylen Brown. I'm not going to say the Peyton Pritchard, but the pass first guard. And, we talk about a lot with LaMelo not being able to play winning basketball. What I've learned in this 8-game win streak is with either Brandon Miller or Khan being the primary scorers, LaMelo Ball can still get his game off. And what I mean by get his game off is still give you a good 20 points. He's going to get some rebounds, about 5 rebounds, 9 assists. But when he is facilitating, when he is truly playing a point position, that is when he's playing winning basketball. We saw LaMelo has never, quote unquote, been in a system where he's been playing winning basketball. You start off in Chino Hills, where he's playing with his brothers. That's probably the most winning he did. From there, you bounce around, you go to Aspire, you go to Lithuania. He's just kind of bouncing around for the sake of hooping. Big Baller Brand started their own league at one point. So even though, quote unquote, winning isn't necessarily in his DNA, big boy, we in the league now. And there's a lot of things that he does well with his game that can attribute to winning that I believe Charles Lee is figuring out and his team is figuring out, and more than anybody else, LaMelo is figuring out. I think we are getting the narrative on LaMelo Ball so wrong with the type of player he is. I don't think he is a careless player who doesn't take basketball serious. I think basketball is this man's first love, his first passion. I think he cares about winning. If you are a competitor, you are going to want to win NBA games. Even though he hasn't had much experience in a winning setting, it is in your DNA, it is in your winning mindset as a high caliber player to want to win games. And LaMelo, since he's stepped foot into Charlotte, has shown that he has not been a selfish player. He likes to get other people involved. He is in his last, out of our 8-game win streak, out of the last 5 for assists, he's averaging 7, 11, 8, 9, 8. When LaMelo Ball is playing pass first type of basketball, it helps everybody else on the team play better. And I'm not just saying dishing out the ball. It's the way in which he is dishing out the ball. Getting LaMelo Ball so early when we did, before we got a Brandon Miller here, before we got a Con Kneppel, pairing him with a Miles Bridges at the time when he was here, he was able to expand his game enough for him to become a threat on the court. We know that LaMelo Ball at any point can open up the can and give you a 50, 40, 30-point game. We've seen it multiple times. We've seen it before the core is here. People want to say that LaMelo took a dip this year or LaMelo isn't playing as explosive as he is. No, he's doing the thing that y'all have been asking him to do since he stepped foot in the league and played winning basketball. When we are winning games, I don't need LaMelo to drop 30 points every game. I don't even need him to drop 20 points every game. If he is contributing in a way where he is getting everybody else involved, averaging around this margin, like I just said, around the 7 to 8 points, 7 to 8 assists, and he's getting at least 20, 15, 18, hell, I don't care, enough points to help us win the game, we don't need LaMelo Ball to be the primary scorer anymore. That is no longer what his role is on this team. We finally have another season where Brandon Miller has been able to play more games. We even saw that in his rookie year, the way he was able to take over some of these games. His height, his size, and his skill set is so dominant that LaMelo Ball does not need to be the guy that's always dropping 30. That doesn't take away anything from his skill set. That doesn't take away anything from him being a good or bad player. That we have to begin to start disassociating numbers to productivity. Like, that's where the problem comes and becomes, where we sit here and look at a stat line and say, oh, LaMelo had 10 here, 15. But he had 30 this game. And that. Are you winning the games? How are other people playing? What is his efficiency? What is the plus minus looking like? So I think his facilitating has been way more important to us than his scoring. Now, I'm going to backtrack here and get back to Brandon Miller. In our 8-game win streak, let's look at some numbers here. 20. We're going off points. 20 points. 21. 30. 26. 23. 26. And then in the last two, a bit of a drop off. 16 and 11. But when you look at that drop off, Concanepo just had a 24-point game. Brandon Miller is the catalyst that you build this team around. It's Brandon Miller and LaMelo, because I just gave y'all a whole spiel on how LaMelo Ball is important to facilitating. But the primary point person is Brandon Miller. If y'all pay attention and look, and I know y'all don't be paying attention, but up until now, up until our recent 8-game win streak, we have not been able to have a fully healthy roster. When Miles Bridges, Concanepo, LaMelo Ball, Brandon Miller, Moussa Diabate are on the floor, we are winning games. I talked about this in the Bricks podcast, so go look at it. Before the win streak began, there was a stat that was out. When those guys are fully healthy, we were 7-1. This is before our win streak, notably. Now, I don't even know what the number is, but it's more. We're one of the hottest teams in the league right now. So we have yet to see this team fully healthy in years. Even last year, there were sparks of what we're seeing now, but nobody could stay healthy. It wasn't the coaching fully. It wasn't the players being bad. It was health. Health is wealth. Health is winning. Health is building chemistry. We are beginning to create an identity for this team, which is what we lacked. The identity was LaMelo Ball. I mean, up until now, the identity was LaMelo Ball. He's the face of the franchise. We understand that. But now we are a high volume scoring team that is a legitimate threat from the 3-point range. You have to come into games and respect us. You have to come into games and play with our speed. We can outscore any team. We beat the Thunder. We beat the 76ers. We just beat the Rockets. We beat the Spurs. I just named contenders. I just named players who were in the finals, teams that were in the finals. We're outscoring and outplaying these teams. So when you step into Charlotte, when you step into the Spectrum Center, you got to come correct when you facing us. And that is what we're beginning to see in Charlotte. And that takes me to Charles Lee, man. Coach Charles Lee. I owe you an apology too. And I will say this, when we first got Coach Charles Lee, I was excited about it because I loved what was going on in Boston. You're coming from a team that has established a culture, a winning culture, and I've heard players rave about Charles Lee. Shout out to Club 520. Jeff T talked about in his last few years in Boston, how much he loved Charles Lee, how much the players love Charles Lee. And we are in a era now, not even just in the NBA, but being a player's coach means a lot to a team. Being a player's coach means a lot, not only to the team and the players, but to the higher ups, your GMs, your presidents, your people like that. Because we hear it all the time. The minute a coach loses the locker room, they boot it. You up out of there. So coming in, I think we started off, and when I say we, I say some Hornets fans, because I've seen the thread, judging a little too early. I mean, you're putting a coach who has not had head coaching experience into a pool of kind of madness, you know? Health is a big concern. Players aren't healthy. The team hasn't been playing winning basketball. You have problems on your roster. You have players on your roster who honestly just aren't good. And there's like, hey, just coach this. Figure it out. So I think, at least for me off the top, last year, and even at the beginning of this year, it was some moments at time that were questionable that made me be like, yo, is this Charles Lee guy really the guy? But within this 8-game win streak, we've seen a lot of personality from Charles Lee, and I'm rocking with him. I'm rocking with him. You know, we saw LaMelo dive out of bounds to try to get the ball, and Charles Lee, I don't know if he thought he was a player or something, but he going over to get the ball. I'm like, bro, what are you doing? Like, what are you doing? Bumps into LaMelo. LaMelo splits his eye open. He's bleeding everywhere and shit. And then post game, he runs into the locker room with a hard hat on. You know, after we got our 7-game win streak, he runs into the locker room doing doing backflips and stuff. Like, this is what you want to see from a coach right now. And I'm telling you this, Charles Lee fits into the Hornets mindset because we are a young team that, as I just mentioned earlier, is continuing to find and build their identity. You have a player like Charles Lee who has an opportunity to take over a franchise and turn it around for his sake too. He's building his own narrative, his own story. It works together. This is a guy who can relate to the team. This is a guy who can really chop it up with these guys. I remember seeing a picture with Charles Lee walking into the stadium wearing LaMelo La France brand all over. Like, this is the type of stuff we want to see from a coach. We are in a new era of basketball, ladies and gentlemen, from college basketball to the NBA. These old school, old style coaching, like, man, we see the rumors with the Timberwolves coach. The minute you start to lose that locker room, it's wraps, bro. So you have a coach who's relatable. He looks like some of the guys in the locker room. Relatable. He's a younger dude. These are the things you want to see because guys buy into this. Guys buy into a coach who can admit when they're wrong. Guys buy into a coach who takes the time out to not only really try to work with their players, but get to know their players and develop a relationship with them. If this is going to be a winning business and a winning franchise, the coach has to have personal relationships with the players. You're not just coaching them. You're not just solely coaching them. That's not how teams win. Greg Pop, one of a legendary NBA coach. DeMar DeRozan speaks about how Greg Popovich cried with him on his shoulder when his father died. These are coaches who are like, this is more than coaching. This is building a family. You know what I'm saying? And if we want to be a winning team, this has to become less of a team and more of a family. And that's what we're beginning to see. You know, we saw the memes of LaMelo Ball pushing off of Moussa Diabate and stuff and all of that going viral. But that is the chemistry that we want. That is what we're looking for, ladies and gentlemen. And that's why we're going to continue to win these games. So, Coach Lee, man, I know I judged you pretty early, but shout out to you, Coach Lee. I love what you've been doing. I love the way the team has been looking so far. I love the energy. And we've been one of the hottest teams in the league. My last point for today, y'all. NBA trade deadline just passed. And I was not expecting the Hornets to make any moves. I'm going to be honest with you. You're on a 7-game winning streak going into the trade deadline. I think you just continue to see what you got. Of course, you're in a weak East. The goal every year is to win an NBA championship for every team. But being realistic, the goal for us is to see what we have here. How far can we compete? How far can we go? Are we on a Detroit Pistons trajectory to compare? But we did see a trade, the most notable trade, of course, Colin Sexton to the Bulls in exchange for Kobe White. So here's what I'll say about that trade. Initial reactions, I was confused. I'm going to be honest with you. And I'm going to quickly say that I'm a big fan of Kobe White. I'm a Tar Heel, as you can see in that corner over there. Big fan of Kobe White. I love his game. I think he's a great guard. The reason why this trade confused me was because he's not going to start on this team. And I think that Kobe White is, Kobe White is a starter, a starting guard, a starting point guard in the NBA. There's teams like the Timberwolves, the Pacers, the Rockets, Miami. Like, these are all teams who could have used a Kobe White who'd be starting and getting 20-plus points pretty much every game. Right now, he's averaging 18 points. So for me, now I'm going to take you back to yesterday before the trade deadline. To me, I see this trade and I'm sitting here looking like, are we thinking about moving like LaMelo or somebody? I mean, you know LaMelo's always in the trade talks and stuff. no, I do not want the franchise to move on from LaMelo. But at the time, I'm trying to make it make sense because if you want to keep or if you want to have a good guard that comes off the bench, can change the pace of the game, and play defense, you had that with Colin Sexton. Colin Sexton in his last game, when we beat the Spurs at home, gave us 23 off the bench. So I'm thinking here, like, now is it consistent 23? Is it a consistent 20 off the bench? No. Could we get that more consistently from Kobe? For sure. So that was the only reason why I was a little bit confused, because I'm sitting here looking like, if this guy's just going to be a bench guy, are we doing Kobe White a service to his career? But what I will say that I liked about the trade is that we got off of a more expensive expiring contract to take on a cheaper one. Colin Sexton was on a 4-year, $70 million deal, set to be a free agent after the season. And Kobe White is on a 3-year, $36 million deal, set to be a free agent also after the season. I've already seen reports that we're probably going to end up bringing him back, which I would hope so. But it's a low risk, high reward type of trade. I mean, you lose a defensive guard coming off the bench with losing Colin Sexton. But what you lose from Colin Sexton's defensive ability off the bench, you gain from Kobe White scoring upside coming off the bench. And also, the ceiling is higher. Colin Sexton isn't going to get much better as a guard in the league right now. I mean, we've seen what he can do. If anything, he's digressed going from Utah into Charlotte now. Maybe he'll have a chance with the Bulls to go back to being a starting point guard as he was in Utah. I wish him the best of luck. But Kobe White, in a sense, has not reached the ceiling. You know, we saw him get right here close to a most improved player, you know, a year back. And this guy was just averaging 18. So I think with his injury history, which does not align well with Charlotte's injury history, it will be good to have a guy like him coming off the bench. This is going to light a fire behind a few other guys. Initially, I think of a Trey Man. Like, you know, I'm a big fan of Trey Man when he's healthy, but you got Kobe White here who could figure out a way to work his way into the starting lineup. So, like I said, it's a low risk, high reward because the ceiling is so high there. And now with a piece like that, you can figure out ways that you want to move other players if you do want to explore, you know, trading like a Miles Bridges or somebody in the future, because you can move Kobe White into that starting lineup. I'm excited for the kid though. Like I said, you know, I'm a Carolina guy. Colin Sexton went to UNC Chapel Hill from Goldsboro, North Carolina. So I know he's definitely thrilled to be back in North Carolina, but it is going to light a fire under some of these other players who may have thought they had a, you know, good role off the bench or whatever it may be. And now, big dog, you got to earn your stay. You got to earn your keep. So this was a winning basketball move, though. You know, it's a move where you get better and not worse, which is always what I love. And you don't give up too much for it. You get younger at guard. You get better at guard. And, you know, you just take that risk. You see what happens. I don't see it not working out. You know, the worst that could happen is that he just stays injured for most of the time. But Kobe White has shown us enough to be able to be the second unit change of pace guy who comes in and can also give you a 20 consistently off the bench. That is also going to be crucial for preserving LaMelo Ball. You know, LaMelo Ball gets hurt a lot. There's no secret here. So having a Kobe White in our lineup, I'm sure we'll mess around with throwing him in the starting lineup sometimes, but we can manage LaMelo's minutes more so that he's not getting hurt all the time, because I can trust Kobe White to go out, not only start a game, but close out a game. So I'm looking forward to it. I'm excited to seeing what happens here. And I just have to give my props to the front office, because we essentially turned Nurkic into Kobe White. And I'm not mad at it. You know, we sent off Nurkic to Utah. We got Colin Sexton in return. We got Colin Sexton, let him play, let him show that he can be good, and then shipped him off for Kobe White. Finally are cooking up here, ladies and gentlemen. We're getting close to something that is a respectable team, and I'm so excited for it. So we got some more games coming up this season. All-Star break is on the way. I'm looking forward to seeing how this team plays after the All-Star break. You know, that's when it starts to get real. We got the second half of the season coming up. We got more games. that we have to win. Let's take a quick look at our next scheduled matchup real quick. Tomorrow we play the Hawks in Atlanta. Another team that reminds me a lot of us a little bit in terms of the trajectory that they're trying to build their team in. So for a quick preview on that game, I didn't even have this plan, but first episode, we got to dig deep. For a quick preview of that game, I think we can win it, y'all. I actually feel pretty good about that game. Of course, Jalen Johnson is the catalyst here. A piece that Atlanta has that I do like for them is Jonathan Kuminga. And I would love to see how they add him into that rotation, if he's going to start or not. But that is a piece that is going to be sneaky. But I think, of course, the matchup we're going to see here is Brandon Miller and Jalen Johnson. LaMelo Ball facilitating. Dyson Daniels does not score me if he's guarding LaMelo one bit. But I think the player who will have the most ceiling to have a really good game here is Con Kneppel. Of course, attention is going to be on LaMelo in terms of a defensive standpoint, and Brandon Miller. And with Dyson Daniels, I'm assuming, guarding LaMelo. But if Nickeil Alexander-Walker or Kuminga or whoever else is in that starting lineup, I think CJ McCollum was starting at one point. I think Kuminga can go tit for tat with these guys. I mean, not Kuminga, excuse me. I think Con Kneppel can go tit for tat with these guys. So I'm looking forward to seeing that. You heard it here first. I'm going to give my prediction now. I think Con Kneppel has a 20-point plus game in this game, and we get another win. We get another win, guys, to take us to 9. I hope that we can eclipse 10, y'all. I'm feeling good about this team right now. But that is going to be all for today's episode, man. I am, again, so excited, so happy to be starting this journey with you guys, man. I appreciate you guys for tapping in. If you haven't already, you got to give the Fall Off a listen. Early album, not even early, it's album of the year. Come on now. Jermaine Cole, J. Cole. But hey man, I appreciate y'all tapping in with me. Much love. Hey, how about them Hornets, baby?